when we went first time to paint landscapes in the streets of Cairo. He told us, try to look very well and see there is a layer of the dust color, and the dust has a color. That layer is making a harmony between the other colors, which is underneath.
This very vivid Cairo, I think this is what really makes it so special. It can never, be boring. Be it the historic Cairo or the non-historic Cairo, you will always see somebody who is extremely creative, in putting an ad on the shop or in, transporting something on their car.
In Cairo, you can go down any corner, around the corner, it's always something new. It's visually continually bombarding you with stuff. And if you're a visual person, this is icing on the cake. This place is great.
In Egypt, the moment you step out the door, you have to think about everything. You have to dodge things, you have to run between cars, you have to maneuver people, you have to find the fastest bus. If there's traffic, you get off the bus and you take the metro. You're always in a state of, how do I solve the next problem? How do I solve the next? How do I maneuver? And this makes a different kind of person, who can always find the way.
One cab driver pulls up to another cab, you got change for this 10, and they pass it through the windows. I've seen it pass from one car through the middle car up to the other car. The money goes back and forth at the stoplight.
I think it's amazing, the terraces of the cafes. I mean, the street becomes automatically an extension of the living room, because it is too hot in the summer and the houses can be very hot as well, so people are always in the streets. And then a lady came out from a window and then told me, Omnea, did you have lunch? I said no. And then there was a chair coming from the window and a table coming out from the window and a plate with delicious food coming out, and they said, I think you need to eat, you've been working all day. So the lady doesn't know me, but she's been seeing me for the past 10 days perhaps.
Elderly men and elderly women meet there afternoons on the way to the market. They sit and talk. There are those who sleep. There are those who study. There are children who play quietly. It is a refuge. It is a community center for these people without any external person managing this.
The families know each other. They are whether married to each other or they have kids, they go to school together, or the kids go to camps together, and there is a beautiful social structure, and you don't need any help from outside, because somehow they are self-sustained in a way. If someone needs help, they will find a way to help him.
And somehow it's not the heaven here. It's full of troubles and problems and pollution. But I like it. I see through all of this a lot of things.
I don't want things spotless and clean. I like things a bit beat up and somewhat dysfunctional. If I was someone enthralled and in love with functionality, I wouldn't be living in Cairo. Of course, I don't like things to be too dysfunctional where it annoys me.
Prime streets, maybe they're full of garbage and rubbish and stuff. But when you go more and more to the little alleys, you realize that they're very clean. They feel it is, like I'm telling you, the extension of the living room, so they even clean it.
I came to the decision that here is the most suitable place for me. It's real, and it's based on culture and based on what we're really facing in our contemporary life through this low middle class society, which is very rich with a lot of aspects and with a big diversity. If you look from a perspective, you will see that this country have no freedom. But from a lot of other levels, you are free for a lot of things. You are free to shout, you are free to run, you are free. When you're doing this other way, you looks very, very strange. But here, no. It's okay, and you are free to annoy others, actually. which is too bad, but it's too good at the same time.
I'm always traveling between different worlds of Cairo, you know. I come here in the morning, you know, where it's a totally different atmosphere than where I live or where I go out with friends, and it's all these different lives of Cairo that sometimes they don't meet, but for me it's just a very normal thing, and I think it's this diversity. And I try to often tell people that in general in Egypt it's this diversity that is really very special.
I like very much the designated loving areas. You know, so you find couples standing on the bridge, having a drink, you know, talking, and you see them, you know, distributed away from each other, you know, like equidistantly. You have couples that go on the bus with their food and their drinks, and they sit in the back and like go down on their chairs, and maybe they're kissing, maybe they're just holding hands, maybe they're finally having an intimate moment, and they just keep going round and round, you know. They pay the ticket and they maybe even get off at the same point.
There is reassurance in familiarity. If what you're familiar with was a happy memory, it depends. That people grew up in a neighborhood that is, or in a town that has many bad memories. They might never want to go there again. They might never want to see this place again. They would rather see it changed. The built environment and places are very much our anchors, as long as they had positive meaning before.
You mentioned something nice, and that's the smells. You used to enter Bab al-Futuh and you would smell lemon and onions. Now, because they've restored the place, they've allocated the people, and you don't smell it anymore, and that's horrible. That's a memory of the city.
If there is any happiness in the past, this in itself is reassuring. It gives you an anchor as a human being. You travel, you grow up, you move, you change, and then you go back to a place where you used to eat ice cream as a little girl, and it's the same. And you could shed tears there because it moves you so much. Depends. Which layer do I protect at the expense of the other layers? I would always go for the living heritage. It is alive. It is still valued. People are still doing it.
They don't sometimes see, not because they don't want to see, but basically because they didn't learn to see. So, and I always give this example that you might have a diamond in your hand and think it's a piece of glass, and that's it, you know? So I think very much of that is really related to how you were taught and were brought up to value things.
I grew up in suburban America, in the Midwest. I find it an incredibly intensely dull and boring place. I think a lot of Egyptians would actually quite like it.
No one is telling them that this is of value. Television is telling them Al-Metal is more prestigious and modern and wonderful and expensive, and so if they have money to improve, they would destroy the heritage because they are misinformed. No one is telling them that it's cooler, 10 degrees cooler without air conditioning in their homes. No one is telling them the history of the place, the value of this kind of architecture, the value of not having cars in narrow streets.
There's a lot of street history that goes on, just activity in the street every day that brings a smile to my face.
It's being able to smile to somebody on the street, you know. It's this, you know. I think it's this very vibrant, creative, maybe chaotic sometimes Cairo that is, I think, very special, and it's something definitely I think people miss when they travel.
These open spaces between rules and what's happening in reality, it gives a soul to our life. It gives a reason to open a dialogue. It gives a reason to survive, to fight, to like, to dislike, to live.